What's up, you guys? UFC ESPN 28. We got Strickland taking on Uriah Hall. Fight taking place in the middleweight division, of course. I think that this main event kind of sums up what kind of card this is. This is a fight that's intriguing, of course, but at the same time, it's not really a big main event type of fight, and the entire card kind of follows that suit. There's some intriguing matchups, but a lot of lesser of names in the UFC. But again, as a diehard fight fan, a diehard UFC fan, I'm excited for the fights, and like always, I'm looking for some spots to make some money. Strickland's a guy that's really been putting it together as of recently, and Uriah Hall's a guy that's one of the nastiest strikers when he puts it together. This guy can put anybody out at any given time, so it's a cool matchup. Fight should take place in the feet. Other than that, though, like I said, not a lot of big names, but us diehard fight fans, we know all these fighters and we know what they're about. So there are some exciting matchups, and we'll be getting to this entire breakdown here in a second. You guys know the routine. We're going to go through some MMA news. We're going to recap this past weekend's card, which was not a good one for me. I got some stuff to talk about there, so hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that. If not, we'll have the timestamps. You guys can go to any specific fight you guys would like to. And with no further ado, let's get into it. So, as far as the news goes, I figured I might as well start pulling this up here as I go through the news, because I make one of these every Monday morning, the Teller Times. Just some news from the weekend, to start the week off. Just recapping the weekend and some things that are kind of big as far as going on in the MMA world. Some key points I put on this page was Stipe Miocic has been he put out a little tease about moving over to ONE FC. I don't know if you guys saw this. I think that he has some validity to what he's talking about here. He's annoyed that he's not getting that rematch. He wants to go. He's ready to go again. He wants that rematch against Francis. It's 1-1. He has the most title defenses in the heavyweight division of all time. I think that he has a point there. And for whatever reason, the UFC didn't want to give him that automatic rematch. I've seen a lot of you guys talking about Stipe like he's washed and he's done, which is crazy because he just got caught by Francis Ngannou, who has dynamite in his fists. That fight could easily went a different way if Stipe would have avoided the big shot and started to use his grappling and wore Francis out like he did the first time. But nevertheless, I don't think that will happen. I don't expect any big trades. They're talking about making a trade like they did, the Ben Askren trade for Demetrius Johnson. Maybe Stipe's traded for somebody. I don't think that's happening. Other than that, how about Woodley and Hector Lombard getting into it over some girl? Looks like Woodley was trying to hit on one of Lombard's side pieces back in the day. I think there's a lot more to that story, though. Woodley was scared to fight Lombard back in the day. He was pretending that they were such good friends, when meanwhile Lombard was saying that wasn't the case and he wanted to fight him. Eventually, he wanted to get a shot at that belt at the time, and it seemed like Woodley was dodging him, to be quite honest. But I put the caption there, former gangster ? Some of you guys got annoyed by that, but it is what it is. I mean, you guys got to loosen up a little bit. But Woodley's a guy that's always talking about this former gangster life that he lived, and I don't see it. I think this guy's a fraud. I could smell him from a mile away. The guy got punked out by Conor McGregor. He gets punked out here by Lombard. You're gonna let a guy come up, start putting his finger in your face and in your chest, and you're gonna sit there. I don't know. It's just not my style. I mean, I get it. You want to be like the mature guy, the confident guy that's not fazed by a finger waving in your face. But at the same time, you're this gangbanger dude, supposedly, or this guy used to be around that type of life. This guy is just, to me, seems like a fraud. And you guys know I'm not a Woodley fan, so I would love to see that fight take place over at Bare Knuckle FC if we ever see that. And then, we'll be getting to the TJ Corey fight and how bad the judges were this past weekend. Other than that, Conor McGregor, he had a, it says here, Conor McGregor appears to question Khabib about his deceased father. He put out a pretty dark tweet, man. Conor McGregor is ruthless. It was just something to the effect, Khabib said, good always prevails and the evil always loses. And he basically said, COVID is good. And your dad was something to the effect that your father was evil or whatever it was. You guys, here, let me see if I can pull it up, the tweet for you. But either way, it was pretty dark. Let's see here. COVID is good and father is evil. Basically, saying that your father lost to COVID, which is pretty dark, man. But that goes to show you that Conor McGregor, a lot of people think he's just a showman and this and that. I truly think Conor McGregor is a ruthless individual. He's ruthless individual. I think he's a wild dude, and I think push come to shove, I think he would really do some crazy things. I truly believe that. It doesn't matter all the money you get and this and that, but if you're a wild dude, you're willing to do some crazy things, and Conor is a wild guy. That's my opinion on that. I'm not necessarily crazy about those kind of tweets. I think it's kind of messed up, but I get it at the same time. He just doesn't give a fuck. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much about it as far as recapping that. Those were the main things I wanted to talk about here. And with that, if you know what time it is, we got to get into the recap of UFC ESPN 27. Shoo. So we had 3 official plays locked in. We had one play that fell apart there, so I added a last-minute play, which really burned me here. I'll be getting to that one that I added in a second. But, yeah, it was a tough card for me, and the judges really, really fixed me good at one of my solid plays here. So we're going to get to everything. In the first fight, Hannah Goldie loses a unanimous decision. Definitely no action in that fight. The thing is, I thought that Goldie did enough. I thought she won the second and third rounds. It was a close fight, and she was getting pieced up a little bit on the feet, especially in the first round. I like how she got that takedown, though, to end the fight and really rained some damage, and she also had a takedown the second round. I think it came down to that second round. But I could see how Belbito won. She looked good as well. Good for her to finally get that victory there, but it was a close fight. Sijara Eubanks absolutely destroys Elise Reed, who had no ground game. Complete mismatch. Julio Arce gets the knockout. I told you guys, Arce is a stud. I shied away from that as an official play because the line, I thought it was a little high for a guy making his return after a long layoff, and Andre Ewell's no joke either, but Arce's boxing is nasty. Some of the best boxing in the game. Mickey Gall shows up. How about Mickey Gall coming out and taking out Jordan Williams the way he did? I did not expect that. Nasruddin Amavov, I was on him to win that fight. Should have made that an official play. Or I regret that a little bit at dog odds. I was a little bit, I was questioning a little bit, his last performance, so I kind of stayed away. But I definitely thought he was good enough to win the fight. That's why I picked him to win it. But he ended up getting the finish there over Heinisch as well. This will take us to the first play I had. I had a very small 2.5 unit play on Soriano. Got it at pick'em odds. I thought there was some value there. Soriano has nasty, nasty hands. There was all this talk about him, going into this past weekend, that his cardio was better than ever. He said that his gas tank was ready to go for an entire 15 minutes. He can throw caution to the wind, throw bombs. I love his boxing. I love the power he brings to the table. Allen is a guy that we've seen susceptible to being hit. I thought that Soriano was going to hurt him. But he weathered the storm. He ate some big shots, and he was the more diverse striker. Shout out to Allen putting things back together. How about Adrian Yanez? Takes out Randy Costa after getting styled on in the first round. Comes back and then styles on Costa. Gets the finish there. Awesome fight. Shout out to Adrian Yanez. I'm going to be putting out some of our interview that we had a while back. I'll put some cool clips from chatting up with him here. So if you guys want to catch that. Now this will take me to my second play. Had a pretty hefty play here. It was a 4.4 unit play on Miranda Maverick. I was really upset here, man. I was pretty livid when this happened. Miranda Maverick, to me, easily won this fight. First round completely wins the round. It wasn't a lot of action, but there was no question. She landed all the cleaner, more significant shots, was pressuring Barber the entire time. Was not even a question. She won the first round. Second round, she was outstriking Barber on the feet, pushing forward. Barber threw a couple shots here and there. And then, so even on the feet, I was edging Miranda Maverick. Then Miranda Maverick gets a takedown there and takes Macy Barber's back and even throws a couple little shots in. How do you give that second round to Barber? And then in the third round, Macy Barber really showed up. That's not enough to win the fight. I really feel that I got royally screwed there and took some big money out of my pocket. But all I can do is try to predict these fights correctly. And this was the fight that I did last minute. Initially, I had Aspen Ladd, which I really feel Aspen Ladd would have showed up. I wish that I probably would have just left this fight alone, even though it really was a winner. But that's why I don't always target these female fights. Sometimes they end up playing closely, and I don't trust these judges. So this will take me to my next big play. I had Derek Minner as well, so put some salt in the wound. Derek Minner, I got some information for you guys here. I talked to James Krause yesterday. Derek Minner should have easily won this fight. Okay, so I stand behind this play all day. Derek Minner went out there with the worst game plan ever, and it was not the team's game plan. James Krause talked to him yesterday, like I said, and he said he did the exact opposite of what the game plan was. All Derek Minner had to do was slow the pace down, not throw bombs on the feet, trying to finish him right away. Elkins is a guy that has crazy cardio. Slow it down. Elkins has horrible striking defense. He's there to be teed off on. Minner should have just been peppering him up. He would have opened up right away with all that scar tissue. Keep the pace slow. Avoid the takedowns and just pepper him up and get the easy victory or not the TKO victory. Instead, Minner goes in trying to wrestle, go for submissions. You can't go for submissions against a guy like an Elkins who has, what? We got his resume here, 26-9 now. So he has, 35 professional fights. The guy's only been submitted one time, and by Charles Oliveira, the submission kingpin. You guys know how hard he is to submit. Minner ends up gassing out after pretty much destroying him in the first round too, landing some nasty elbows. But I knew it wasn't good the way the fight was going. You don't go into a war like that with Elkins. So Minner really dropped the ball there and cost me some big money. And that's a fight that he should have easily won. I'd stand behind that. And James Krause said that he did the exact opposite of the game plan, and I think Minner knows that. So then in the co-main event, Julian Paiva defeats Kyler Phillips. This was a questionable decision as well. The judges, again, coming in a questionable way. A lot of people thought Phillips won the fight. I thought so as well. I thought it was pretty close. Phillips definitely got gassed out a little bit, though, and you got to give credit to Paiva for the heart that he had in that fight. And then in the main event, too, TJ Dillashaw takes out Corey Sandhagen in his return. I thought Corey Sandhagen did enough to win the fight. I thought he won 3-2. Corey Sandhagen landed the cleaner shots, but credit to Dillashaw for bringing the fight and having a good game plan, knowing when to duck in and clinch up when Corey was throwing certain and specific strikes. But the significant strikes were landed by Corey, and TJ was hanging on him a lot, throwing little knees against to his side, up in the clinch against the cage. Wasn't too impressed, but I was impressed in a way with in some aspects with Dillashaw's cardio. Even after the whole thing that went on with him with the EPO, he looks like he's still in great shape, and I'm excited to see who he's matched up with next in the division. So, that's gonna wrap up UFC ESPN 27. I'm gonna throw that way in the back. Never look at it again, and we move forward. That's what we do, man. We move forward and we make our moves for the next card. So. That's the recap of UFC ESPN 27. And now let's get into this upcoming weekend's card. All right. So as we slide down to the beginning of this card, we have Ryan Benoit taking on Zarrukh Adashev, taking place in the flyweight division. Ryan Benoit, a guy, we've talked about him before. He's been around the block for a long time. He's been having a little bit of trouble as of recently trying to get that victory in the UFC. Lost 2 fights in a row, lost to Healy Alateng via split, and just lost to Tim Elliott as well, where he looked very good in the first round, but then, the takedowns started to affect him there. Ryan is a guy that has good striking, good power in his hands. He's a well-rounded mixed martial artist, but like I said, could work on the grappling a little bit because Elliott did expose him a little bit there. Now in this fight, a completely different stylistic matchup. Adashev is a kickboxer. Adashev is a guy... when he made his UFC debut, if you guys remember, he came in horrible shape, took the fight on short notice, and he got knocked out on the feet by Tyson Nam. But, in his last fight, you saw he was in way, way better shape, looked to be way more shredded. And even though he lost that fight, he definitely looked better. He showed some flashes of what he's capable of, and losing to a guy like Su Madarji. That's not really the worst thing because Su is a solid fighter and he was way, way bigger in the fight. Now, this is a more closely contested match, in my opinion, even though Ryan is still going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage here. Adashev should be able to hold his own on the feet. This is an intriguing matchup. I think that Ryan should actually be the guy trying to mix it up, maybe try to get some takedowns. But Adashev also, let me just say, Adashev has been working on his grappling and his takedown defense, and it's looked to have gotten better. So this is a good fight here. We take a look at the odds here, and we take a look at the live line, and we have Ryan Benoit as a slight favorite, right around -135. I'm gonna say that Adashev is gonna get his first victory inside of the octagon. I'm going to say that Adashev finally shows up and gets his first victory. I think he's going to be extremely motivated, needs to get this victory here. And Ryan, like I said, has been a guy that's just been having a tough time getting victories. But it's a very, very close fight. But if Adashev comes in shape, keep an eye on him at the weigh-in and whatnot. I think he's definitely live to take this fight. He was a guy, he's fought over in Bellator. And now he has 6 professional fights as a mixed martial artist, so he should be more comfortable fighting in MMA, but has a lot of kickboxing experience. And see here. Okay. So they just updated Tapology, guys. So yeah, that fight just got bumped up to the main card. So yeah, that just happened there. All right, so going to the next fight. Now, kicking things off, we got Orion Kosi taking on Philip Rowe. You guys know I'm high on these Kosi brothers. I really like what they bring to the table. Even his brother lost his UFC debut, but he looked good in that fight. He brought the fight right away. These guys are no joke. You talk about action. That's what these guys are about. They can grapple, they can strike. I mean, these guys are brawlers. They can do it all. Orion Kosi 7-0, still has not tasted defeat. Remember, both of them looked very, very impressive on Dana White's Contender Series. They both got the victory the same night. Philip Rowe also has a victory on Dana White's Contender Series, where he looked pretty good as well. Where he took out the Armenian fighter. I believe that they had Edmund Shabazian's brother. He actually took out there, and he was a dog in that fight. Looked very good in that fight. Did Philip Rowe, and Philip Rowe's a guy. Lost to Gabe Green in his last fight. Gabe Green, a tough guy. Philip Rowe now 7-3. He's going to have a significant reach advantage here. 9.5-inch reach advantage. 31 years old. He's very, very lanky and long for the division. But I like Kosi here. I think Kosi is going to be in his face, bringing the fight. I love the cardio. I love everything about what they bring to the table. They're just tough, hard-nosed fighters, both those brothers. And this guy, Orion, is no joke. And I like him to show up here and just bring the fight to Rowe and take this fight in a couple different ways. Just to make it I hope he just makes it an absolute brawl. And that's where he seems to thrive. But Philip Rowe will try to be a little bit more meticulous, try to be a little bit more of a sniper in there. But I think that Kosi will be able to handle business. -190 is the line. And it's since dropped, and now it's even right around -160. So some action coming in on Rowe. I think that makes a little bit of sense because Rowe has shown some flashes, and if he can keep this fight on the outside and try to snipe with the boxing, we could see him possibly pull this fight off. But I like Orion Kosi to win the fight, and what a way to kick things off in the card. Like I said, he will bring the fight, no doubt about it. Trevin Jones taking on Ronnie Lawrence, another Dana White's Contender Series alum here, and Ronnie Lawrence, a guy that was a big dog, if you guys remember. He was a big dog fighting on the show against Jose Johnson, who was a guy that you may see around in the near future anyway. But Ronnie Lawrence was able to grapple him and break him in that fight. I know that Ronnie was training over in Sunrise or Hollywood, Florida. Just a little bit south of me. I believe it's a little break off of American Top Team over there. And he's definitely very, very well-rounded, very, very tough guy. He's coming into this fight with a half-inch reach advantage and an inch of height, a height advantage there too. So, we've seen him as the smaller man a couple different times. So here his frame will hold up against Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones is a guy that has dynamite in his hands. He looks to strike. Trevin Jones is a guy that wants to put you out. He's extremely tough. We saw him getting beat up, for a while there against Timur Valiyev, who's one of the best fighters in the division. He's really been proving himself. He was getting beat down, and out of nowhere, Trevin Jones catches him with a nasty shot and showed the power that he has in his hands. So that was a victory there. That was a BS overturned fight. I believe it was just because of marijuana or something stupid like that. So that's a victory there. And in his last fight, he also knocks out Mario Batista, a very talented fighter out of New Mexico. So Trevin Jones, 5-star Trevin Jones, is no joke here. This is an awesome matchup here. Both these guys have been showing what they're about. This is a fight that I've been kind of on the fence with. Trevin Jones coming in as a plus 120 dog. We'll take a look at the live line as of Monday morning. Right around that same line, plus 120, plus 125. I don't know. The way I look at this fight, I think that Ronnie Lawrence is a little bit more of the well-rounded mixed martial artist, and I think that he could mix things up a little bit better. But Trevin Jones will have that power edge, and he might be able to hurt Lawrence a little bit in there on the feet. But I got to take the more well-rounded fighter in Lawrence here, who's 29 years old and just been putting it together. He showed up against Jose Johnson, another very talented fighter, talented striker. I have a feeling that he's going to be able to show up against Trevin here. But again, if Trevin is able to connect with the big shot like he did against Timur, do not be surprised if we see somebody going to sleep. This guy is knocked out 2 guys in a row. The power is legit. It's going to be an entertaining fight, so keep an eye on that fight. Ashley Yoder taking on Jin Frey. Jin Frey finally gets a victory in the UFC, takes out Gloria de Paula, who we will be talking about in a little bit, also fighting on this card. Jin Frey, a former big name over in Invicta, a very physically fit fighter, comes in great shape, well-rounded fighter. Like I said, though, did drop two losses as she entered the UFC, but lost to Kay Hansen, a stud of a fighter, and she looked good in the first round, but Kay Hansen's a very, very talented prospect. And then lost to Luma Lekbunmi, who is one of the most skilled Muay Thai strikers in the game. And then, like I said, got a victory against Gloria de Paula. So good to see she's starting to put it together. Ashley Yoder, only 8-7 as a professional. Ashley Yoder, the spider monkey, a girl with that wiry frame that's, doesn't have much power on her shots, looks to kind of make it a scrappy fight and then try to, jump on you and take your back, use her jiu-jitsu. She is very flexible, and her jiu-jitsu game is pretty solid. As a whole, I've never been extremely impressed with Yoder, to be quite honest. I do think that Frey is live here, coming in as a slight dog. This is another fight I've been a little bit back and forth on as I've been breaking down tape on these girls. It's an extremely close fight. You guys know the deal with these types of fights. It's going to probably play out very, very closely. We take a look at what Yoder's been doing. Just lost to Angela Hill, one of the top fighters in the division. Took out Miranda Granger, used her grappling in that fight to pull that fight off. Lost to Lavinia Souza and Randa Marcos before that. Took out Siri Kondo before that. Oh man. Yoder will have that reach advantage here. Been so back and forth on this fight here. I really think this is about a coin flip. So, the value is more so on Frey, in my opinion, at plus 115 if you had to touch it. Let's take Jin Frey to win the fight. So, as you guys catch my drift, this is an extremely close fight. No conviction as far as picking either one of these fighters. We'll see who shows up on the day of the fight, but I think Jin Frey might be a little bit stronger in those clinch exchanges and grappling exchanges. She's a little bit more physically fit. Yoder might be a little bit more tricky on the mat, but I think that Frey can pull off the victory there, so I'll take her to win the fight. I love this fight here. Danny Chavez taking on Kai Kamaka III. Like I said, 2 guys that I've had the pleasure to chat with. 2 awesome dudes. Super down-to-earth, nice guys. We'll start off with Danny Chavez. Danny Chavez, he is coming off a loss against Jared Gordon where he pretty much gassed out and was broken there. But a different stylistic matchup. Jared Gordon using the grappling, closing the distance, not letting Chavez, use his sharp striking that he has, the beautiful calf kicks. Before that, Chavez really showed what he was about when he took out TJ Brown. So I was talking about the calf kicks, the striking. He's very, very technical in there. Kai Kamaka, also a technical fighter that maybe has a little bit more power than Chavez, a little bit more powerful. This guy he's a solid fighter. Kai Kamaka can do it all, though. A guy that's been training MMA since he was a young kid. He comes from a family of mixed martial artists. This guy was born into it. He's only 26 years old. I expect to see, more growth in his game than a guy like Danny Chavez, who's creeping up on 35. Kai Kamaka could have won that TJ Brown fight. It was very, very close. Before that, lost to Jonathan Pierce, got finished there. And the Tony Kelly fight was very, very close as well. A war. Kai Kamaka always delivers these wars. Danny Chavez, like I said, lost to Jared Gordon, but it was a different stylistic type of fight. I think, even though I said Kai Kamaka could show some more growth, I got to go with Danny Chavez as of right now, because when I break down the tape and I see the fighters that I break down, when I see them clashing, I think Danny Chavez will be a little bit quicker to the punch, a little bit sharper, and Kai Kamaka sometimes is susceptible to being tagged. He engages in those wars, and sometimes he snoozes out a little bit, gets tagged. I'm going to take Danny Chavez here. I like the calf kicks. I think he's going to be extremely motivated. This is an awesome fight. This is a potential fight of the night. Keep an eye on this for a bonus. Shout out to both guys. Much respect to both guys. I hope it's a war, and I hope they go to a draw, because I got much love for both these guys here. But I like Danny Chavez to win the fight. And Danny Chavez is going to be a slight dog as well. Very, very slight dog. And that's a fight that should take place in the feet. I think it should take place in the feet. Unless Kai tries to, really game plan and tries to grind Chavez out like Gordon did. But I don't see him doing that, because he's just such a brawler in there. All right, we got Chris, Meat and Potatoes, Grutzmacher taking on Rafa Garcia. I say that, grits. Well, grits is some other food you could eat. Maybe he's just grits, meat and grits. But the reason why I say meat and potatoes, because in my opinion, he's the definition of meat and potatoes. Just, I don't want to throw too much shade at the guy, but he's just, very basic type of fighter. He's a tough dude, good cardio. We've seen him show up and take certain fights where he's able to just dig deep and be in the right spot at the right time, make the right decision at the right time. But he's just not that flashy. He doesn't have so much potential, but he's been hanging around. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Took out Abner Laveras, the Spanish fighter from The Ultimate Fighter. He did knock out Joe Lozon. You got to give him credit for that. Lost to Alexander Hernandez, where made Alexander Hernandez look great all of a sudden again. Davi Ramos submitted him. Chas Skelly also submitted him. He's a plus 200 dog here. Rafa Garcia lost his UFC debut against the very talented Nasrat Hakprost. Rafa Garcia is a guy that was undefeated coming in, 12-0. Been fighting over in Combate, really doing his thing over there. He's a guy that's been, I like what he's doing as far as training. I expect to see some growth in his striking, training with Trevor Whitman, one of the best striking coaches in the game. And he needs that, because his striking is not, it's not what you think it is. You think of these tough Mexican fighters, the Mexican boxers. It's not really what you see on tape. Not that technical. He throws kind of loopy hooks, and he actually has some decent grappling. As a Mexican fighter, this guy can pull off some good submissions in there. I'm gonna say that he shows up and takes out Chris Grutzmacher, and I think the line is a little off though, minus 250. I don't know how confident I feel in that, because Chris will show up and make it a fight. But Rafa Garcia, a guy that has way more potential at this stage, 26 years old, training with Trevor Whitman, training at altitude up there. I like that. He's going to be there for 15 minutes, ready to push Chris to the brink of taking an L. And I like Rafa Garcia there, but again, the line to me is a little off, because I could see Chris showing up. I think this was Chris taking out Abner right there, the submission artist. And yeah, it should be a decent fight. The line, though, like I said, the line, minus 250. I don't know how comfortable I am in that. All right, we got a good fight here. Another 2 guys coming off Dana White's Contender Series. Collin, Anglin, taking on Melsik Baghdasaryan, the Armenian fighter. Melsik, this is the guy, the gun. This guy is a very talented kickboxer. We saw him on Dana White's Contender Series, like I said. He got the victory there. Showed some really nice flashes on the feet. Had a little bit of turbulence in that fight, but still showed up, got the victory. Very, very physically fit is Melsik. This guy's ripped up, working on his overall game. And then Collin Anglin is a guy that is more of a grappling-based fighter. Has really flashed with his grappling. If you mess up, this guy will mount you. He'll take your back. He'll be dropping elbows on you. And he'll be on you like a leech. So Collin has been showing up. Got that big victory there against Muhammadjan Naimov, who is a guy that was a big favorite in that fight. Collin Anglin was a big underdog there, and Anglin was able to grind him out there. So good cardio as well. Not so flashy on the feet, but a guy that's technical, can grapple. And if you get tired in there, this is a guy that, like I said, can get on top of you and start really wearing you out. Melsik is a striker, so more of a striking versus grappling type of fight here. Of course, they're well-rounded, but still, that's kind of what the gist of this fight is. I like Melsik striking a lot. He's right around a -150. I like Melsik. I think that he should be able to keep this fight standing where he could really shine with his striking. And again, his striking is no joke. Some legit striking. I mean, this guy's a legit kickboxer. I think he's fought over in K1, all that type of stuff. So I like Melsik here, but keep an eye on the possibly live Collin Anglin, who is just, like I said, he's game. He's a very game fighter. And as far as the line goes, -150. It's not that bad, really. It's not like a crazy line there. So if you do like Melsik, it's not like a crazy line that would avoid you from touching it. And if you like Anglin, plus you're not getting the best of dog odds. I mean, you're getting a little bit of value possibly if he's able to dig deep there. But I would go the Melsik route, in my opinion. All right, we got Nicco Montaño taking on Yanan Wu, another kind of striker versus grappler type of fight for the most part. Of course, though, again, Nicco can do it all, but more of a grappler, a girl that could really take you down and grind you out, pound you out. Yanan Wu is a girl that's definitely a striker. Yanan Wu has been putting in some time over at Tiger Muay Thai. This is a girl that throws bombs, throws those power hooks. She's like a buzzsaw. If you walk into her reach, man, she'll be throwing power hooks at you, and she will hurt you. Has a little bit more power than most girls in the division. Now Nicco is a girl, won the Ultimate Fighter. Was a girl that she was the champion, right? When she won that show, she was the first flyweight champ, but was stripped of the belt because she was taking so long to fight. I think she was trying to fight, or they were trying to match her up with at the time. Name is slipping my mind, man. Sometimes when you hop on here, you hop on the mic, you guys would be surprised, just to give you guys an idea. Like a lot of this knowledge I would know so quickly if I was just relaxed on the couch. But when you're sitting here talking, sometimes you freeze up a little bit. Who was Nicco Montaño supposed to fight for the belt? Oh, was it Valentina? I don't know if it was Valentina Shevchenko. Somebody comment below. Who was the fight that she was it seemed like she was scared to take that fight a little bit, and she was hesitating, so the UFC stripped her. Somebody remind us all. Either way, though, she's a solid fighter. The record is not really indicative of who she is as a fighter, in my opinion. She lost to Juliana Pena in her last fight. Juliana, no joke at all. And, before that, taking out Roxanne Modafferi and Barb Honchak. And the Roxanne Modafferi was the finale of The Ultimate Fighter. That's where she became the champ. So she's not an active fighter. It's been 2 years since she's fought. But I think that she should be the best version of herself still. I think that she's been training hard. I think that we're going to see the best version of Nicco here. And I think that if she could use her grappling and her overall game, if she can get this fight down to the mat, I think she could take this fight against Yanan. Yanan just lost to Jocelyn Edwards. I did not like the way that looked. And she also lost to Mizuki Inoue. Both those girls I'm not that impressed with, so I cannot go with Wu. Even though, like I said, Wu's striking is no joke. That would be her avenue to win the fight, keep it on the feet, and try to shine there. But most likely, I just don't see that happening. And I like Nicco to win the fight. The live line is right around -230 right now, so action coming in on her. The line is up there as well. So yeah, Nicco Montaño to win the fight, and fight taking place in the bantamweight division as well. So not taking place in the flyweight division. Nicco, is bumping up here, and should be a good fight for taking place in the women's side of things. Bryan Barberena taking on Jason Witt. Jason Witt, the Vanilla Gorilla, just got knocked out by Matt Semmelsberger. Before that, took out Cole Williams. That was a good fight for him, man. He really showed up, was slamming Cole down, got the sub. Before that, Takashi Sato made quick work of him. And remember, Jason Witt took that fight on short notice, and that was a tough one for him. So things have really been down, up, and down for him. He had a little moment where he was feeling good, and then he's right back down and getting knocked out by Matthew Matthew Semmelsberger. Bryan Barberena. You guys know the deal with Bryan Barberena. Extremely tough, well-rounded, great cardio. His physique throws guys off at times. People think that he's not as good as a fighter as he really is, and the level of competition is very good. Fighting guys like Leon Edwards, Jake Ellenberger back in the day, Vincent Luque. That was a hell of a fight. He almost took Vincent out early, taking on Randy Brown, and Anthony Ivy, a little bit of a step down in competition, but he showed up, and he looked good in that fight there. He's a minus 260 favorite here against Jason Witt. I understand it, and to an extent, he's the better fighter here on paper. But Jason Witt is a guy that does have good wrestling. He's willing to throw some heavy shots. You never know if he can connect with one of those power hooks. Training at a Gloria MMA and Fitness, solid camp over there. Like I said, I just talked to James Krause too. About that whole situation. But some great training goes on over there. Barberena will have a 2-inch reach advantage. He's a little bit of a taller guy as well, a little bit more of a naturally bigger dude. Jason Witt a little bit more stocky. I think Barberena should have an edge anywhere this fight goes. On paper, he should have an edge anywhere that this fight goes. I do believe that. And yeah, I'm a fan of Barberena's. You know that? I am a fan of Barberena's. This is a guy that just shows up and brings the fight every time. So I expect nothing less than that once again. And not necessarily crazy about the line, but it makes sense to an extent. And again, this was the Vanilla Gorilla slam that he had against Cole Williams, which was funny because those guys really reminded me of each other going into that fight. They both lost their debuts, very similar statures, similar skill sets, but the Vanilla Gorilla was the one that showed up. So we'll see if Jason Witt could show up here. I don't necessarily think that he will, but you never know. The fight game's crazy, but on paper, Bryan Barberena is the better overall mixed martial artist, in my opinion. Great cardio, and he's a guy that's not easy to be put away. I know Randy Brown took him out, and Vincent Luque took him out, but I still don't think he's an easy guy to put away, because if you look at the way that those fights played out, he took a lot of damage before being taken out. It wasn't like he just got hit with a shot and he gets put out. I mean, he can eat a shot. But he's willing to engage in a war. I haven't seen anything from Jason Witt that shows me that he's gonna go in there and hurt him on the feet. We haven't seen much of that from Jason Witt. So I like Bryan Barberena here to win the fight. We already broke down Ryan Benoit versus Zarrukh Adashev earlier. As I said, they flipped up the card to me a little bit here. Now we got Kyung Ho Kang taking on Yahya. This is an interesting fight here, man. Yahya is a guy that he's like a little miniature Damian Maia. Nasty jiu-jitsu. He's like a leech. Loves those little single leg takedowns. Likes to grab on you, try to swoop on your back, take your back. Nasty jiu-jitsu. Been watching him way back since his WEC days. And a guy that striking has been worked on. He's tried to get his striking going. Kyung Ho Kang is definitely more of a striker. On a 3-fight win streak, but look, split decisions over Ping Yang Liu, split decision over Brandon Davis. Those are not really big names that he's going to split decisions with. Also got the submission of Teruto Ishihara, and then he lost to Ricardo Ramos in a very, very entertaining, closely matched fight. This is a fight that could definitely go a couple different ways. If Yahya can really use his grappling and get the fight down to the mat and try to grind on Kang, I could see him taking this fight. But Kang is a guy that I think will definitely have the edge on the feet. I do believe that. Hani is tricky on the feet. He has this weird type of striking style where you're worried about him trying to take you down and get you on the mat, and he tries to throw a couple little step in with these hooks and try to land some shots like that. It's like watching like an old jiu-jitsu player back in the day, fighting there. He really has that old school jiu-jitsu style. I like Yahya. I've been a big fan of his since way back in the day. If your ground game is not up to par, he will exploit you. There's no question about that. And this is a good fight here. Yeah, I've been back and forth on this one, as you guys can see. It's really going to come down to, in my opinion, can Can he close the distance? Can he get in on Kang here? I'm gonna say he can. I'm gonna say he can. It's an extremely close fight. I think the value is definitely more so on Yahya. I could see Ho Kang definitely showing up and possibly keeping this fight at bay and using his striking to pull the fight off. But I'm gonna give it to Yahya. A lot of respect for him. It's an extremely close fight. I'm gonna give the edge to the crafty veteran who does seem to show up at times, and we'll give him that there. Yahya. As you guys can see, not a lot of conviction in my prediction there. Gloria de Paula taking on Cheyanne Buys. Cheyanne Buys, man. I love watching this girl fight. Ever since she made a name for herself on Dana White's Contender Series, the way she was yelling at her opponent, screaming at her, the ferociousness, the tenacity. I like it. The warrior princess. This girl has the makings to be a big name in the division. But she had a major setback in her last fight against Montserrat Ruiz, where she was constantly taken down with that head and arm throw, or just that head throw, and really showed some holes in her takedown defense and her grappling. So, although Cheyanne is very ferocious, and I like the striking, and I like her whole setup with her training and her boyfriend, JP Buys, I know that they really get after it over there. Fortis MMA training over in Texas. I know she's getting it in. But Gloria de Paula is a girl that showed flashes on Dana White's Contender Series, looked good on the show there. She did not look good in her last fight against Jinyu Frey, got taken down. So she also showed some holes in her grappling and her takedown defense. This is a perfect matchup here. I like Cheyanne to pull through in this fight because of the stylistic matchup. I think this fight should take place in the feet, and I think Cheyanne will be ferocious there, and she'll be extremely motivated. And I like her to win the fight. And it's definitely a fight you don't want to miss. Cheyanne, she's an entertaining fighter to watch, if you guys catch my drift. I like girls like that, man, that are just, tough, wild chicks. And she seems like she's a cool girl, and she really got humbled, in my opinion, in her last fight. I think it will only make her a better fighter here. So we'll see how she shows up. But Gloria, like I said, Gloria de Paula is a girl that does have some skills, and she's also a girl that the UFC would love to stand behind. And she has the look, and she showed flashes of it on Dana White's Contender Series. Can she show up once again? I'm gonna go with Cheyanne. The line, in my opinion, you know how I feel about these types of lines with these types of fights, these women's fights. I wouldn't feel too confident in Cheyanne Buys after the grappling that she showed. You never know. All of a sudden, Gloria de Paula goes in for that same type of takedown. If she was smart, and maybe she pulls that same takedown off too. Gloria, a bigger fighter than Montserrat Ruiz, even though Montserrat does have some good wrestling. It's definitely possible, but I'll take Cheyanne to win the fight. Mounir Lazzez taking on Niklas Stolze, the German fighter, the Green Mask, who lost his UFC debut against Ramazan Emeev. Tough fight. Emeev is a tough outing for anybody. Not an exciting fighter, but he will control you there against the cage. He will use his skills to pull off the unanimous decision on you all day. And that's what he did to Niklas there. Niklas is a guy that has some good jiu-jitsu, some good grappling. Needs to work on his overall game. Mounir Lazzez, definitely the better striker here. This is kind of a striking versus grappling matchup as well. The Tunisian fighter, 33 years old, who is coming off a loss against Warlley Alves. He got hurt by Warlley on the feet, and that was a fight that he was coming in as a pretty big favorite there. Fight took place over in Europe, I believe, and that was a setback for Lazzez. After winning, his UFC debut against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, where he looked phenomenal in that fight. Really broke Al Hassan there on the feet. This is a big fight for him. I like Lazzez here. I do like Lazzez. I think that he's going to have a significant advantage on the feet, and I think he should be able to keep the fight standing. So, I like him for sure in that type of situation, of course. But if Stolze can get this fight down to the mat, if he can mix things up and make it a dog fight, I could definitely see Stolze using that grappling to try to steal this fight. But I think Lazzez should be able to handle things here. I really do. Fighting out of Team Nogueira, Dubai. Mounir Lazzez, a guy that has a lot of potential. A lot of people were let's see, excuse me over here. But, we're standing behind him, after that big win that he had in his debut. Even though he dropped the ball, I think that he does rebound here. And I need to see some more from Stolze before I could back up a guy like him. But getting in some solid training, look at him over here, getting it in with Sean Strickland as well over at Syndicate MMA. So, these guys have been preparing for this card. That's always a good thing to see. Training with legends like Frank Mir. But I like Lazzez will just be so much better on the feet. That's just, I got to edge him there. So, yeah. But, as far as the line goes, not necessarily crazy about it, if you guys catch my drift. And as far as their stature goes, very similar as well. Almost identical. All right, guys, that takes us to the main event. If you guys have not liked this video already, please do. Helps me out a lot. You're going to be seeing a major push with me as far as getting this channel going, man. I told you I had some big things coming up. You're going to start to see that push. I'm starting to clean some things up here. I hope you guys like the new setup on the channel with the channel art and whatnot. But a lot of big things coming. As I've been telling you, I'm sorry it's been taking a lot longer than I've liked. But without getting too in depth on my personal life, there's been some things that are that are holding that back. But things are going to be definitely picking up here. But please do like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Catch me on all my social media, my Instagram. It's all below. MMA Fortune Teller _. Twitter, The MMA Teller. Please, guys, it's much appreciated. Now, in this main event fight, this is definitely, in my opinion, it's the most exciting fight on the card. Sean Strickland's been on an absolute tear, just walking guys down, making it a war. We saw what he did to Brendan Allen, and we saw Brendan Allen just bounce back. So that was a big victory there. Looked great against Krzysztof Jotko, who's no joke. Funny guy. I met Krzysztof Jotko at a bar a while back, and we were hanging out, BSing. It was funny. He was out there with 2 girls, so he's doing his thing. The Krzysztof Jotko can fight. The Jack Marshman fight, Sean Strickland was barking in there the whole time. It was very entertaining. Sean Strickland is a live wire, man. This guy's a wild dude. As if you guys been following him as of recently, he's been all over social media talking crap. He's just a nutcase in my opinion. And there was an incident. I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't know if I could pull it up here, but there was an incident where he was grappling with this guy who's actually like a world-class grappler. And he didn't like the way that the guy kind of grabbed the hold of his shoulder. He did something that he didn't like there, and he slapped him up. He gave him a couple slaps. I don't think he has it here, but he's a wild dude, man. He's on Instagram barking about it afterwards, and you know what? I think he has the right to have that type of attitude right now because his fighting style is delivering. So this guy can do whatever he wants in there. He can say whatever he wants until proven otherwise. His one loss as of recently was that flashy spinning hook kick from Zaleski dos Santos, which was, in my opinion, more of a fluke. I think if they fought 100 times, I think that Strickland would win it 95 times, something like that, 97 times. I really do believe that he just got caught there. But he is there to be hit. And that's why this is an exciting matchup, because Uriah Hall will throw those same type of attacks. I hope Uriah Hall throws a spinning heel attack, something like that spinning hook kick. We've seen him throw one on the Ultimate Fighter. That was probably it was the nastiest knockout we've ever seen on Tough. Uriah Hall, we've seen him take out guys like Gegard Mousasi. Even though if Gegard Mousasi and Uriah Hall fight 100 times, I give it 90 of them or 80 of them to 85 of them to Gegard Mousasi. Uriah Hall can land that shot on you. So even if Strickland's the better fighter, Uriah Hall's dangerous on the feet, and he could end this fight with one shot. Coming off that crazy fight where he had the nice leg check against Chris Weidman. Got to give him credit there. It was a beautiful check. Before that, took out Anderson Silva. Was a little slow in there. Probably should have finished Silva a little bit quicker. Uriah Hall is a patient fighter. Doesn't like to rush things. And that's why sometimes it's a little tricky because he's a little gun shy in there. He's been in there with the best of them. You see him here against Robert Whittaker. He's fought some big names in the game. And his striking is nasty. But he's a guy, I want to cut to the chase here. He's a guy that can definitely be broke. I've seen him broke a couple times inside the octagon. If you pressure him, get him up against the cage, this is a guy that can be broke. And you want to talk about a guy that will break you? Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's going to come right in your face. He's going to be peppering you up with strikes. He has those unorthodox type of like Nate Diaz type of strikes where he's just not putting a lot on them, but he's just tagging you up, walking forward. He's going to be barking at you. I think Uriah Hall is going to be in a little bit of trouble here in this main event. I think Sean Strickland is a guy that has a lot of momentum. He's really, like I said, he's just he's a little bit out there right now. He's lost his cool, and I think that's going to carry over in a good way for his fighting style. I think he's in there training like a madman. Maybe he has some things going on in his personal life. I don't know what's going on with the dude, but it kind of reminds me of a guy that has, you know, a little something going on with his personal life. But not that there's anything wrong with that, because we all been there and we all go through things. But this is a guy that you know, gets his rocks off, knocking dudes out in the cage, and I think he'll feel better when he gets you know, possibly a first or second round knockout over Hall. You know, so I could see something like that. And you see him getting it in with Sam Alvey over here. Sam Alvey was supposed to be on this card. As you guys, let me just cut to the chase. Sean Strickland's definitely the pick here. Minus 215 line. I kind of like it. I think Sean Strickland delivers, but be careful for that nasty knockout threat from Uriah Hall. Maybe he throws a nasty head kick, a nasty spinning kick, and his boxing is okay as well. You know, if you come rush in on him, he will hit you with a counter hook. So be careful for those things. But other than that, I think Sean Strickland wins this fight. And just to give you guys some insight here, we had a lot of fights fall through as of very recently. Sam Alvey will not be fighting Roman Kopylov. Kopylov had visa issues. You know, we had a couple fights fall through here as of recently. The Chris Dawkins fight, you know, Shamil just pulled out of that fight as well. So a lot of fights fell through. Luckily enough, though, they had 15 fights targeted, so we still have 13 fights. So plenty of fights on this fight card. Fight taking place at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. You guys, if you guys are interested in working with me with my plays, if you want my pricing, reach out to me. All my information is down below, or just, you know, shoot me a comment here. I'll give you guys that information. I got my email, all that stuff for you. I appreciate every single one of you guys. For my motivational, you know, statement to cap the show off, how about we stop drinking the sodas and all those sweet juices that are full of sugar? Make sure you guys are getting plenty of water. That's what it's all about, man. Drink a lot of water. You know, it'll make you feel a lot better. And all that toxic stuff, man, the sodas and this and that, even the Diet Cokes, all that, man. Cut that crap out. You'll feel way better. And I'm gonna start hitting you guys with the motivational little comment to cap all these shows off. Why not? You know, I have the privilege of you guys listening to me, and I'll try to make it beneficial for some of you guys out there, man. Cut those sweet drinks out. Cut all those BS drinks with the sugar in them and this and that. You'll feel much better, man. Get that water down. You know, luckily for me, I just love the way water tastes. I don't drink nothing else but water unless mixing something with one of my alcohol drinks in moderation. All right, guys. All right, that's gonna cap today's episode off. Love all you guys. Signing out. The Teller. The MMA fortune teller. The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller.